Ever get that feeling like the rules of the road are kind of different for you as a CDL holder?
Oh, tell me about it.
Like even just a regular day, out driving your own car, could end up putting your whole career on the line.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
That's exactly what we're going to dig into today. You sent over uh, what we'll just call the CDL regulations.
Right.
And honestly, just holding this thing, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
But seriously, tucked away in all these pages are some things every CDL holder or someone who's thinking about getting their CDL absolutely needs to know.
For sure.
So, no more beating around the bush. Let's jump right into the deep end here.
Let's do it.
We need someone who can really help us navigate these pretty intense waters. One thing that pops up all over this document is this phrase, serious traffic violations. But then it doesn't really go into detail about what that actually means for us regular folks who are just out driving around.
Yeah, it can be a little vague.
So can you break it down for us what actually falls under that category?
Sure, it's easy to think, oh, it's just the speeding ticket, no big deal.
Right.
But the truth is, for anyone with a CDL, these regulations, they don't mess around. We're talking about anything that could be seen as a pattern of, like, risky behavior when you're behind the wheel going 15 or more over the speed limit.
Okay.
Reckless driving.
Right.
Even something that seems as small as texting. And here's the cat, these things, they can still come back to bite you even if you're not driving your work vehicle.
Hold on. So you're telling me I could be driving home from like a family dinner, get pulled over for texting, and that could actually affect my CDL.
It could, yeah.
That's kind of wild.
It all comes down to this idea that when you have a CDL, you're agreeing to a higher standard.
Makes sense.
And the document is really clear about this. 2 serious traffic violations within 3 years, that's a 60-day suspension of your CDL.
60 days.
Wow.
3 violations. You're looking at least 120 days out of work. That's potentially months of lost income.
Yeah.
And all because of something you did in your own car.
Okay, yeah, now I'm starting to see why understanding all these little details is so important.
It really is.
So let's get into some specifics here. One thing these regulations really come down hard on are DUIs.
Right.
Which obviously are a huge deal for any driver.
Of course, yeah.
But for someone who depends on their CDL for a living, what's the real impact? Well, you have to remember a DUI doesn't just affect, like, your personal driving privileges. It can completely derail your career. Even a first-time DUI, even if it happens in your own car, automatically means you lose your CDL for a year.
A whole year.
And if you get a second DUI, that's it. You're done. Lifetime ban from driving anything commercially, your livelihood, gone.
Wow. That's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And it's not just DUIs that carry that kind of weight, is it? I was pretty surprised to see a whole bunch of other offenses listed in here, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like leaving the scene of an accident.
Right.
Even something as small as a fender bender, those consequences can be just as serious as a DUI.
They absolutely can be, yeah.
A single instance, and you could be looking at a year-long suspension a second time. That's a lifetime ban.
That's right.
It really drives home the point that you've got to take responsibility for your actions no matter what.
Absolutely, no matter what, yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that what you do on your own time can directly affect your ability to make a living.
That's right.
And then, on top of all of that, there's this whole other category of felonies.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, we could probably do a whole deep dive just on that.
Probably, yeah.
But just for the sake of time, what are the really essential things people need to know about how felonies and CDLs mix?
Well, the biggest takeaway is this. If you use a vehicle to commit any felony, and I mean any felony, even if it's not related to your job, you could lose your CDL for a year.
For a first offense.
For a first offense, that's right.
And a second offense.
You guessed it. You're looking at a lifetime ban. And it's not just any felony either. The regulations are really specific about this drug-related felonies. Those are immediate and permanent revocation of your CDL.
Wow. So no second chances with that.
Oh, not with that.
It's like they're watching every move you make out there.
Kind of, yeah. And that microscope, it's even stronger when you're actually behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle.
Right. So we talked about how, like, getting in trouble in your own car can affect your CDL.
Right.
But now let's talk about what happens when you're actually in the driver's seat of your rig.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest no-nos when it comes to driving a commercial vehicle?
Yeah.
What do the regulations really focus on there?
Well, for starters, speeding is the big one.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I know it's so easy to get caught up in the flow of traffic. But going more than 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, even if you're out on those long stretches of open highway.
Yeah.
That's considered a really serious offense for commercial drivers.
15 over. Wow. Yeah, I can definitely see how that could happen without you even realizing it,
Exactly.
especially when you're driving such a big vehicle.
And that's exactly why you got to be so careful, you know?
Right.
Those miles per hour, they can creep up on you. And for a
100%.
commercial driver, that can be a career ender.
And it's probably not just speeding they're worried about, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
What are some of the other moving violations that the regulations call out as potential problems for commercial drivers?
Well, think about those like little driving habits that most of us are probably guilty of sometimes when we're in our own cars, right?
Right.
Things like not changing lanes properly, following too closely, tailgating, driving erratically, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Those things are a much bigger deal when you're driving a commercial vehicle.
Right, because of the size and the weight and everything.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like the regulations are saying, look, we get it. Driving a commercial vehicle is different. It's more challenging.
Right.
But that's exactly why you have to be extra careful and follow the rules all the time.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. And there's one more really important thing I want to mention, and that's texting while driving a commercial vehicle.
Okay, yeah. That one seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, who would even try to text and drive an 18-wheeler, right?
You'd be surprised, actually. It's more common than you think, and it's not just about texting anymore either.
Really?
Yeah, these days the definition of texting is a lot broader, right? The regulations are really clear about this. Using any kind of handheld mobile device while you're driving a commercial vehicle is a huge no-no. And we're not just talking about sending a quick text message. This also means making calls, checking GPS or your maps, even like scrolling through your playlist to find a new song.
Wow. Okay.
Basically, anything that takes your eyes off the road and your hands off the wheel, that's a problem.
So no exceptions. Hands-free devices are the way to go.
Absolutely. Hands-free all the way. You have to be 100% focused on driving.
Right.
Imagine for a second that you're driving down the highway. You're hauling a load of cargo. That vehicle weighs tons.
Yeah.
Even a split second of distraction, and the consequences could be really, really bad.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is. It's a big responsibility. And that's exactly why it's so important to stay on top of these regulations.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about protecting yourself, your livelihood,
Right.
and the other people out there on the road with you.
Everyone.
Okay, so we've established that commercial drivers, you guys have to follow a really strict set of rules.
We do.
But how does that actually work in real life?
Right?
Do these regulations say anything about how these violations are tracked or reported? Like, if you get a ticket, how do they know?
That's a great question. And yeah, actually, the regulations talk about this system called CDLIS.
CELAS?
Yeah, it stands for Commercial Driver's License Information System.
Okay.
It's basically this big nationwide database that keeps track of every single commercial driver's license out there.
Right.
And it has everyone's violation history on it.
So anytime a commercial driver gets a speeding ticket or a DUI or any other kind of violation, it goes into this national system.
That's exactly right. It's like a permanent record of your driving history as a CDL holder.
Wow.
And it's accessible by law enforcement and also potential employers all over the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
So this CDLIS thing, it's kind of a big deal for anyone with a CDL.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. If you were hiring someone to like transport goods for your company, you'd want to know about their driving record, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. You want to make sure they're, safe and responsible behind the wheel.
Exactly. And for drivers who have a clean record, CDLIS can actually be a good thing.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, it shows potential employers that they're serious about their job, that they prioritize safety.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So it's not just about catching the people who are messing up.
Right. Yeah.
It's also about recognizing and rewarding the ones who are doing things the right way.
Exactly.
Okay, there's one more thing in these regulations that I wanted to get your take on. It's this whole thing about implied consent laws.
Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, it sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, I get it. Basically, what it means is by simply driving a commercial vehicle, you're automatically consenting to alcohol testing if you get pulled over for certain violations.
Wait, hold on. So even if I'm not driving crazy or anything, even if there's no reason to think I'm impaired, just being suspected of a violation means I could be forced to take a breathalyzer test.
That's right.
Wow.
And here's the thing. Refusing to take the test, that's the same as actually driving under the influence.
Seriously?
Yep. Same penalties.
Well, that definitely raises the stakes.
It does. But again, it goes back to that idea of like a higher level of responsibility that comes with having a CDL.
Right, right.
As strict as these regulations might seem, They're there to protect everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The drivers too,
Right.
everyone on the road.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We talked about how even those like minor traffic violations you get in your own car, those can come back to haunt you. We talked about DUIs, what a big deal those are.
Huge.
And this whole thing about implied consent laws.
Right.
These regulations are pretty intense.
They are, but you know what? That's not a bad thing.
How so?
Think about it. The more CDL holders out there who really know these rules,
Yeah.
the better off everyone is, right? The
Right.
safer our roads are going to be.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, right?
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of CDLs and honestly, just how much is riding on them,
It's a lot.
what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I would say just remember, your CDL, it's more than just a piece of plastic that lets you drive.
Right.
It's a symbol of like your skills, your professionalism,
Yeah, absolutely.
your commitment to safety, to being the best driver you can be.
Well,
Treat it with respect, on and off the road, and you'll be good to go.
couldn't have it better myself. And to everyone listening, we hope this has been helpful. Remember, staying informed is the best way to stay safe out there on the road. Until next time, drive safe.